Welcome to Famevora. American Graffiti wasn't just a movie. It was a time machine built from chrome and rock and roll, pointed directly at the last innocent night before everything changed. Released in 1973, it looked back at 1962 and somehow made both eras feel alive at once. The cast was young. Most were unknown. A few would become legends. And all of them, stars, supporting players, one-scene wonders, brought something irreplaceable to a film that still feels like a living memory rather than a historical artifact. But time has moved through those lives as relentlessly as it moves through everything. Tonight we follow it, from the neon of Modesto to wherever 2026 finds them, the ones still with us and the ones we've had to let go. Kurt Henderson is the film's restless soul, searching, questioning, standing at the edge of a life he hasn't chosen yet. Richard Dreyfuss, born October 29, 1947 in Brooklyn, New York, was 26 when he gave the film its philosophical heartbeat. Kurt doesn't just experience the night, he interrogates it, bargaining with the future in every scene. Dreyfuss made that uncertainty feel poetic, turning a coming-of-age story into something quietly profound. He later won the Academy Award for Best Actor for The Goodbye Girl, 1977, starring in landmark films including Jaws and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. In 2026, Richard Dreyfuss is 78, and Kurt remains cinema's most honest portrait of the night before adulthood arrives. Steve Bolander is sincerity under pressure, good intentions slowly bending beneath the weight of growing up. Ron Howard, born March 1, 1954, in Duncan, Oklahoma, was just 19 when he played Steve, bringing warmth that kept the character human even when his choices cause pain. Howard understood something essential. This isn't a villain wanting to leave. It's simply a young person becoming someone new. He played that crossroads with quiet honesty. Howard later became one of Hollywood's most respected directors, with films including Apollo 13 and A Beautiful Mind. In 2026, Ron Howard is 72. Watching Steve now feels like witnessing the opening page of an extraordinary creative life. A boy in a car, not yet knowing how far the road would go. John Milner is cool without effort, loyal to his car, grounded in the night, already sensing the world is moving past him. Paul Le Mat, born September 22, 1945 in Rahway, New Jersey, was 28 when he gave Milner that rare quality, melancholy beneath the calm. He's the best at what he does in a world about to stop caring. Le Mat played that with restraint and depth, no speeches, no drama. Just a man who understands his lane is narrowing. He continued working across film and television throughout his career. In 2026, Paul Le Mat is 80, and John Milner remains unforgettable. A silhouette under neon, engine running, youth still glowing, even as time gains in the rearview mirror. Laurie Henderson loves deeply and feels the ending approaching before anyone says a word. Cindy Williams, born August 22, 1947 in Van Nuys, California, was 26 when she made Laurie the film's quiet, emotional anchor. She plays a young woman holding on to something she suspects she can't keep. And Williams brought warmth and vulnerability to that weight, never bitterness. Laurie isn't decorative. She's the person left carrying uncertainty when ambition leaves town. Williams later became beloved worldwide as Shirley on Laverne and Shirley. She passed away on January 25, 2023, at 75 after a brief illness. Rewatching Laurie now feels like hearing a familiar song, still beautiful, but carrying the ache of knowing the singer is gone. Bob Falfa is danger wearing a grin, leather-jacketed, cocky, and hunting for someone to beat. Harrison Ford, born July 13, 1942, in Chicago, Illinois, was 31 when he played Falfa, injecting real risk into the film's dreamy night. Without Falfa, the story might float on pure nostalgia. Ford grounded it in consequence, charm with teeth, confidence with a crash waiting ahead. He made the role count in limited screen time, and it became an early stepping stone toward one of cinema's most legendary careers. In 2026, Harrison Ford is 83. Revisiting Falfa now, you see it clearly: the presence, the ease, the unmistakable pull of a star already driving toward history. Carol Morrison is teenage wit in its sharpest form. Smart, fearless, sarcastic, and still innocent beneath the bravado. Mackenzie Phillips, born November 10, 1959, in Alexandria, Virginia, was just 14 when she played Carol, and her chemistry with John Milner gives the film a tender, offbeat humor that still lands decades later. Phillips made Carol funny without making her silly, tough without making her cold. She captured adolescence honestly, a kid testing the world's edges before the world tests back. Phillips later became a major television presence and a public voice on resilience and recovery. In 2026, Mackenzie Phillips is 66, and Carol remains a vivid flash of youth, proof that even a film about endings can't stop teenage spark from stealing the scene. The disc jockey isn't background in this film, he's the city's invisible pulse. Wolfman Jack, born January 21, 1938 in Brooklyn, New York, was 35 when his legendary voice wrapped the night in music, making every mile of cruising feel electric and meaningful. You rarely see him, but you feel him everywhere, guiding the lonely, soundtracking the reckless, turning Modesto into a living radio dream. He wasn't performing a DJ, he was one. He became one of America's most iconic radio personalities, a broadcast legend who helped define rock and roll culture. Wolfman Jack passed away on July 1, 1995, at 57, from a heart attack. Yet his voice still feels immortal, because the moment the music starts, the night returns. Debbie is all spark and laughter, flirtatious, bright, and carrying the joy that keeps the night from tipping into sadness. Candy Clark, born June 20, 1947 in Norman, Oklahoma, was 26 when she played Debbie, balancing the film's quieter melancholy with warmth and humor. Clark understood that Debbie isn't shallow. She's the one who chooses to live the night fully rather than worry about the morning. Spirited, funny, and genuinely alive on screen, she gives Kurt's storyline a welcome burst of energy. Clark continued working in film and television, earning an Academy Award nomination for American Graffiti. In 2026, Candy Clark is 78, and Debbie remains one of the film's brightest notes, proof that even on the edge of goodbye, youth still laughs. Terry the Toad Fields is the sweetness of youth before the armor goes on, nervous, hopeful, and borrowing courage one moment at a time. Charles Martin Smith, born October 30, 1953 in Van Nuys, California, was 20 when he made Terry feel honest rather than humiliating. Not every teenager is smooth. Terry represents the rest of us, fumbling through the night, trying on identities, hoping one fits before morning. Smith gave the film its most relatable comedy and some of its most tender humanity. He later built a long career as both actor and director. In 2026, Charles Martin Smith is 72, and Terry remains a gentle truth. Sometimes the greatest victory of youth is simply daring to step into the night at all. She's barely on screen, yet she becomes the film's most enduring image. Mystery in motion, longing made visible. Suzanne Summers, born October 16, 1946 in San Bruno, California, was 27 when she turned a near-silent role into one of cinema's most iconic symbols. She didn't overact, she simply existed. Luminous, unreachable, the unknown future calling from the dark. Summers understood the poetry of restraint and let the audience fill in everything the scene left unsaid. She later became a major television star and cultural figure. She passed away on October 15, 2023, at 76 from breast cancer. Now that silent blonde feels even more poignant, a fleeting moment that time transformed into memory and memory into loss. Jo is the film's sharp edge, streetwise, commanding, the kind of confidence that only comes from already knowing how the world really works. Bo Hopkins, born February 2, 1938 in Greenwood, South Carolina, was 35 when he pulled Kurt into mischief that felt thrilling and slightly dangerous. His scenes remind audiences the early 60s weren't only innocence, there was rebellion too. Jo isn't a cartoon tough guy. He's a real presence who makes the night feel bigger than high school romance. Hopkins built a long career playing rugged, authoritative characters. He passed away on May 28, 2022, at 84, following complications after a heart attack. In rewatching, his Jo feels like the shadow at the edge of the neon, proof that growing up was never only sweet. Peg brings a quieter frequency to the film, sincere, gentle, seeking connection without performance. Kathleen Quinlan, born November 19, 1954 in Pasadena, California, was 19 when she played Peg with a natural warmth that balanced the film's louder energies. Not everyone in youth is bold. Some are simply trying to feel seen and cared for, and Peg holds that truth without sentiment. Quinlan played her as a real young woman, soft affection, real hope. And those quieter moments keep the film's nostalgia from turning hollow. She went on to a long, acclaimed career with major roles across decades. In 2026, Kathleen Quinlan is 71, and Peg remains a tender note in the chorus, proof that kindness can be the night's most lasting memory. Bobby brings an easy, grounded warmth, the kind of presence that makes an ensemble feel like a real community rather than a cast. Lynn Marie Stewart, born December 14, 1946, in Los Angeles, California, was 27 when she played the role, adding sincerity that kept the film from drifting into postcard nostalgia. Stewart had the character actor's gift, making small moments feel inhabited, as if the camera simply caught her mid-evening. She later became beloved for a long television career, including a widely recognized role on Pee-wee's Playhouse. She passed away on February 21, 2025, at 78. Watching her scenes now carries quiet tenderness, because the greatest films aren't remembered only for their stars, but for the faces that made the world feel real. Vic belongs to this town the way the streetlights do, naturally without needing a reason. Jo Spano, born July 7, 1946, in San Francisco, California, was 27 when he brought easy realism to the film's cruising world. Supporting characters like Vic are what make Modesto feel populated by actual young people rather than extras. He helped build the sense that everyone that night was living their own private version of goodbye, and that the film was big enough to hold them all. Spano later became widely known for major television roles and a long, respected career. In 2026, Jo Spano is 79, and Vic remains part of why the film feels timeless, a portrait not just of a few teenagers, but of an entire generation caught in one luminous evening. Jane arrives with quiet warmth and stays longer in memory than her screen time suggests. Kay Lenz, born March 4, 1953 in Los Angeles, California, was 20 when she played Jane with natural grace, never competing for attention, simply present in the way a real person would be. She embodies the film's romantic innocence, the possibility that the future might still be gentle. In a story about leaving things behind, characters like Jane represent what you hesitate to let go. Lenz played her with ease, allowing the role to feel like an actual memory rather than a scripted moment. She went on to a long career across television and film. In 2026, Kay Lenz is 73, and Jane remains one of the film's softer echoes, proof that small roles can hold profound emotional weight. Falfa's girl is teenage electricity, flirty, fearless, and perfectly matched to the danger and thrill that surrounds Bob Falfa. Deborah Lee Scott, born April 2, 1953, in Elizabeth, New Jersey, was just 20 when she appeared, turning brief screen time into a fully felt presence. American Graffiti is built from moments like this. A laugh, a glance, the feeling of the night accelerating past. Scott delivered that sensation cleanly, making the scene feel like a genuine memory rather than a constructed one. She went on to build a recognizable career in television comedy. She passed away on April 5, 2005, at 52. Rewatching her now carries quiet resonance. Sometimes the people you barely knew in youth are the ones you remember longest. A presence, a flash, and then gone. Their characters still cruise beneath those neon lights, forever young, forever moving. But the people behind them faced lives far more fragile than any film frame could hold. Some are gone. Others are still with us in 2026. Yet American Graffiti plays on. Music, headlights, and the ache of youth you can feel even as it's slipping through your hands. If this tribute stayed with you, tell us which performance meant the most. And join us again on Famevora. Good night.